What's up guys, and welcome to FPL Today. I'm the man in the know, JNO, and welcome to your questions for Game Week 7, where we go over all of the questions that you have to ask me, and we try and help you with your fantasy Premier League game. But before we get into this video is sponsored by FanTeam, who you can join via the link in the description down below. Make sure to check them out if you want to play fantasy football for money, and they are bringing in free games to play for money as well. So check all of that out, and I'll see you there. Anyway, let's get straight on with the video, and we start off with hopefully a bit more positivity, because we did have an 800k rise in rank following game week 6 after a pretty decent game week where my defence turned up and we had some decent performances from the midfield. So hopefully I won't get as triggered this episode. First question is from Dan. Dan, your knowledge of football tactics and players in the real world is what lets you down. You can't just go off of numbers, watch the games. Really? How do you know I don't watch the games? Do you even watch my videos? Like, I talk about games. I talk about things that happen in games. I have BT Sports on my Virgin Media box. I have Sky Sports, Premier League, main event, whatever you call it, on my phone on Now TV. I watch every single game I can. Unfortunately, I have a life. I have a job that I have to work on weekends sometimes. I also have children, so I can't always watch every single game. But I watch, trust me, as much football as I possibly can. If you don't think I watch football, then you either don't watch my channel properly, or we disagree on football completely. Either way, you can see that I watch football games, because if you look at some of my videos during pre-season where I talked tactics, and I couldn't have talked tactics about Sheffield United if I didn't watch football. And I mentioned how some players look really good in the Premier League but aren't fantasy football assets. Either way, if you are so knowledgeable about football tactics and players, make your own YouTube channel and just leave me alone. Anyway, just in case you wondered, I am going to bring up comments like this because I personally like having a discussion, and if you don't agree with me, that is completely fine. But like I said in the last video, I'm quite happy to stand my corner, and you know what? I actually enjoy responding to some criticism as well, and if it's justified criticism, I will hold my hands up. Both of them. But thank you so much to all of these people who did leave positive comments on my Game Week 7 preview video. I have absolutely no idea where they're going to pop up, but thank you Jammy Jim, Seb Hodson, Storm Sherrington, Harry Baker and Mr. Corton. But let's get into the actual questions, and we start off with a question from Sarab Varma. I believe I get the last name right, but not the first name there. Question is, would you rather have Aguero, Pukki and Greenwood plus a 4.5 million defender? There's not too many of them out there unless you're really looking at like Lundstrom or Rico at the moment. Or Abraham, Barnes, Pukki and Otamendi. He has KDB, Mane, Son, Mount and Cantwell in midfield. Can't decide between a 3-5-2 and a 3-4-3. He is playing his wild card. Right now, I'm actually really looking at Aguero, thinking he could be a good fantasy football asset. I am also looking at Aubameyang with the same mindset. I don't think I can really stretch to both of them, but Aguero is a player I'm definitely considering when I would play my wild card. If the form continues in the way it has, and previous form is anything to go by, Aguero looks very good when KDB is on the pitch, and KDB looks like he's over any injury issues, touch wood, and that could make Aguero a very good fantasy football asset. I'm currently on Sterling. Pukki looks like a decent player to have still. Yes, he blanked last game week, and he has blanked before, but he has scored a lot of goals, and it looks like, to me anyway, that while he won't carry on the form from the first 3 or 4 game weeks, he will be a consistent scorer in the Premier League. As for Greenwood, I'm not too big on Greenwood just because of game time, although he has had some good performances in the Carabao Cup. And 4.5 million defenders, unless you're looking at Lundstrom or Rico, none of them really stand out as great options, and Rico and Lundstrom are under 4.5. But then with the other 4, you have Abraham, Pukki, Barnes and Otamendi. Now Barnes has slowed down a bit, and I'm waiting to see what happens there, but I am a bit worried about Barnes. Abraham, be very happy with that pick with the fixtures that are coming up. Like I said with Pukki, happy for Pukki to stay, and Otamendi could be a good way into a Man City defence if you believe they're still going to get clean sheets. As far as balance goes, I think the second option, Abraham, Barnes, Pukki and Otamendi, are better, but I really do like the look of Aguero. So you're going to have to make your own mind up there, but for balance of your team, I would say the second one. But if you want Aguero, I can't argue with that. We then get a question from Karthik Raja. I apologise again if I've butchered that name. What to do with Sigurdsson, which is a very tricky question right now because, let's be honest, a lot of us thought Everton would be a good side to go to at the start of the season. And if you're not admitting to that, that is your own decision. but a lot of us were definitely on that Everton train when Game Week 1 started. The issue I have with Sigurdsson is he's dropping in price. He's got 17 points in 6 game weeks, and the underlying stats just aren't there. And the Everton side in game, you'll like this, Dan, when I've watched Everton play, especially against Bournemouth, they didn't look very good at all. They don't look like they're going to create lots of chances. Why that is, I'm not 100% sure, because some of the players are there from last season that were creating lots of chances. Sigurdsson, Bernard, Digne, all there. But I don't know if it's something to do with the balance of the side without Bamin in there to take that Idrissa Gueye role. But there seems to be some sort of issue with Everton, and they're not really creating the amount of chances you'd want. And defensively, they're not as solid as we'd want as well. For me, if I was you, I would be getting rid of Sigurdsson pretty quickly. If something doesn't change, he's going to continue to drop in price. And the fact he's only had 3 shots on target in 6 game weeks, 1 big chance, and his expected assists, something you'd expect to be quite high for a player of Sigurdsson's ilk, is 1.2 from 15 attempted assists, with 8 of those shots being on target. You'd expect the expected assists to be higher there. So I would definitely be jumping off Sigurdsson with Everton and Sigurdsson's current run of form. Also, there looks like there could potentially be cheaper options in that Everton side if they do hit form. The likes of Iwobi and Keane would be cheaper players to bring into your side. Iwobi being specifically relevant because he's also a midfielder if Everton did start to do well. The next question is from Egg Maestro. Would you swap Barnes for Abraham or downgrade Digne to Tomori? And I believe it says or Greenwood to Abraham. Now, I would suggest to get Abraham in. Right now, yes, he's outperforming his expected goals, but the finishes he's actually scoring are so varied and so clinical that I believe he could continue to outdo his expected goals season long. Headers, turn of pace, turning defenders, and scoring shots from all around the box. I think Abraham could be a very good player, and he's starting to look like he could be nailed on. I don't want to jinx it in that Chelsea side. As for Barnes, it's not been as good as it had been at the start of the season. Potentially that could improve. He is still a very good finisher. You can see that from the first few game weeks of the season. I would still go Abraham over Barnes, and definitely Abraham over Greenwood, although there is a chance Greenwood could play his way into that Manchester United side. As for Digne to Tomori, I'm potentially looking at downgrading Digne as well. He is still pretty high up there for chance creation though. Tomori, Chelsea don't look like they're going to keep clean sheets, and the goal he scored was a superb finish, don't get me wrong, 30 odd yards out, great goal. Is he likely to keep scoring goals like that? If he starts to score a few more like that, maybe I will eat my words. But it wasn't like he scored from inside the box with a towering header that you would imagine could be replicated over and over again. So for me, I have no problem with you downgrading Digne. I'm just not sold 100% on Chelsea defenders just yet. As for Abraham, definitely bring him in. Then we got who is the best captain pick for this game week. Aguero, KDB, Sterling and Son. Now, Sterling didn't play last game week. Potentially that means he's rested and he could go into game week 7, hit the ground running and have a madness, scoring 2 or 3 goals. I would love that personally, seeing as Sterling still on my side. KDB looks on form. Aguero did get returns in that 8-0 win. Wasn't potentially as much as a lot of people wanted from Aguero. They're all good captaincy choices. I actually like Son as a choice. I think it's Southampton at home for Spurs as an outside pick, but there seems to be an issue at Spurs still. Pochettino has come out and said there's differing agendas in the club at the moment that he has to manage. So I'm a bit worried about going for a Spurs player. For me personally, I would still go Aguero or Sterling because of their explosiveness. I know De Bruyne had 3 assists and a goal in the last game. Do I think that will continue? No, I think Watford were just that bad. I would personally go Aguero or Sterling. On current form, it would probably lean towards Aguero if you have him. Staying on the captaincy question train, is Firmino a better captain option than Salah in Game Week 7? Again, off of history, I would say no. Firmino has, don't get me wrong, looked absolutely quality in the Premier League this season. Some of the flicks and assists that he's doing look absolutely amazing. However, I still feel Salah is more likely to have 1, more chances, 2, more likely to score more goals, and 3, will just have a higher FPL return rate than Firmino. Now, value for money wise, Firmino looks like an absolute steal right now, so I have been considering him being my 3rd Liverpool player. I wouldn't say he's a better captaincy option, but I would say he's definitely a player that we could be considering for our FPL sides. But just know this, he has had periods before, last season, the season before, where he goes very, very quiet. And I brought Firmino in before last season thinking he could potentially have a good end to the season and get me the points that I couldn't really get from Mane because I couldn't afford to bring him in. And he was nowhere near getting the points that Mane scored. And then finally, we have bench Cantwell or Rico for game week 7. Now for me, I actually am just leaning towards Rico because it is Bournemouth at home, I believe, to West Ham. Now that could be a high scoring game, but West Ham haven't looked great away from home. They did have that draw with Aston Villa. So I think Rico would be the one I'd lean towards, but I do like the look of Norwich, I believe against Crystal Palace, although I don't have it right in front of me. I'd say either or are decent choices. Cantwell potentially has a higher ceiling with him more likely to get assists or goals. But I fancy Bournemouth to maybe get something at West Ham. Clean sheets don't really come that often at Bournemouth though, so maybe Cantwell is the safer option. But I do fancy Rico to get some points. Cantwell is more nailed on though, I will say that. And both are better options than Lundstram. Watch Lundstram score and get a clean sheet now. I don't think it's likely, but watch it happen. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. It helps the channel out so much. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when I go live or when my videos are up on the channel. Also check out the various links in the description down below, including my Patreon, which is only $1 a month, which does give you access to a monthly and season long FPL game, but also go check out the Discord link because Discord is now open to everyone so we can talk FPL. Also, thank you to Fan Team for sponsoring this video. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.